Is everyone set? Excellent. Well, welcome to the Essential Goods and Supply Chain Parliamentary Expo. As I've travelled around and seen the fantastic work happening at Queensland manufacturers to deliver medical and essential goods that in the past have always been, or for a long time have been imported, I really wanted to bring these companies here to Parliament so my colleagues could see the fantastic work that's happening. It is, so much of it is just really so exciting. What became really stark last year was that we were importing too many of our critical goods, and that left us at times without the supplies that we needed. And so we put in place a $50 million fund to help Queensland companies to start onshoring that manufacturing. It's been incredibly successful, and you can see that with the products that are here today. We're also announcing another grant from within that fund, which will go to the ARM Hub, the Advanced Robotic and Manufacturing Hub, where they help other organisations to work out how to use robotics in their business and in their manufacturing, and they are able to do that because of a very substantial commitment from the Palaszczuk government, and now we're announcing that we'll contribute more funds to them so that they can work with Spinal Life and Consolidated Linen on specific robotics related projects for those two organisations, and Corey's here and able to talk in more detail about that. But I might ask the Minister for Manufacturing to say something first, and then we'll hear from ARM Hub.
Thank you, Deputy Premier, and it is great to be here today in Parliament to see firsthand some of these local manufacturers that have been delivering for our essential services here in Queensland. The products that we're seeing here today are made in Queensland, and people are seeing that now. We're starting to see the benefits of that, and some of these companies are really starting to deliver. Not only that, but talking to some of these producers today, the secondary and other aspects of their business moving forward, like making boxes for their products that they're making there in this essential goods products today. So this is expanding right throughout Queensland. We're proud here in Queensland of our history in supporting manufacturers, and as well as the additional grants that the Deputy Premier has mentioned today. We're also announced another grant today of $15.5 million under the Made in Queensland grants funding today, which will give more manufacturers here in Queensland opportunities to get into these type of products, to get into the innovation that they need so that we can start to utilise our products and export to the world. One of our manufacturers here today is already sending testing kits to America in the hundreds of thousands. These are the things that we want to see Queensland manufacturers do right across Queensland, not only here in southeast Queensland, but in regional Queensland as well. We certainly are seeing the world market looking to Australia, and particularly to Queensland, for things to get made. And Queensland does it better than anyone else, and I'm proud to be the Minister for Manufacturing here in Queensland, and I'm proud to see these Queensland companies stepping up and certainly delivering for our essential goods here in Queensland.
Oh, hi all. The ARM Hub is incredibly grateful to the Palaszczuk government and Minister Miles and Minister Butcher for their support of our work, helping companies in Queensland and beyond, but to go through the industrial transformation process, to use robotics and other assistive technologies in the work that they're trying to achieve. So the ARM Hub is now working with, through the Essential Goods and Supply Chain program, two companies, Spinal Life Australia, and with Spinal Life Australia we're working with those who have a spinal cord injury return to their home sooner by scanning their home and starting to mass customise furniture settings and other home settings so that they can return from the hospital and other sort of institutional care at a faster rate and become better faster. And the other company is Consolidated Linen Services, which is actually a Gladstone-owned company, so Minister Butcher might know them. So Consolidated Linen Services is really looking at industrial linen, so it is often a dirty and dull and dangerous and hot endeavour, and a lot of it is automated, and it's it's a very efficient process, but there's some very tricky elements to it, such as how to make a towel flat. and using robotics to do that. They can fold, they can do many things, they can sort, but they cannot make at this stage a towel go flat to go through the folding machine. So this is something that we can do robotically. It's more difficult than it sounds, and once that's been achieved, we get people off the workshop floor in that environment to use their capabilities in more high-value parts of the business. So these are two projects we're really excited to be delivering here in Queensland. Thank you.
Minister, well, speaking of medical products, what can you tell us about the possible link between a blood clotting case and the vaccine?
Look, it's too early to say whether this incident is linked to the Pfizer vaccine. What people should be very confident in, though, is that our medical authorities are determined to investigate any such incident and provide that information and data nationally and indeed internationally. And similarly, we draw upon that information from right around the world. These vaccine programs are rolling out right around the world, and clearly our authorities will be looking into whether there is a link here, investigating that, and looking to see whether it can help inform that vaccine rollout.
Melbourne today opened 3 hubs, mass hubs of vaccinations. Would Queensland look at doing something similar?
That's something that we would consider at the point in time at which we had sufficient supply to be delivering that number of vaccines. Currently our hospitals are able to do the number of vaccines that we have available, the number of vaccinations that we need to do within their existing facilities, but certainly I've discussed with the Chief Health Officer the points in time at which those larger vaccination centres might be useful.
Should we not be preparing for that now?
We are preparing for that now, so the logistics of that are in place now. We're working on that now, but we are some time from needing that. The in coming months, I think Queensland Health anticipates needing that for the program of their rollout. But I understand the Morrison government have indicated we're unlikely to be at that scale until the fourth quarter of this year.
Has there been a venue picked out?
So there are a range of different types of venue that are under consideration, as well as the other logistical and planning mechanisms that need to be put in place.
What are they?
Look, I'll leave it to the health team to make those sort of comments. Clearly there will be points in time of this vaccine rollout where we will need to be doing large numbers of people, and we'll look at those facilities. But while we can, I know Jeanette's very keen for us to be delivering the vaccine in environments where people are comfortable. And so at the moment, given the current scale, which is much smaller than we would have hoped at this point in time, given the current scale, she's more comfortable with it being in GP suites and in pharmacies while we roll it out to our staff in the hospital environment.
The Victorian government's giving out grants for locally produced Pfizer and Moderna. Why isn't that something that the Queensland government's investing in?
So we have teams of people working right now to determine what would be needed to create that kind of capability here in Queensland. Of course, we'd welcome it in Victoria too. We'd benefit from it in Victoria too. So that work is underway. As the Victorian government have said, they anticipate it would be 3 years before they could be up and running. A lot of people have been saying for a long time that we need greater sovereign manufacturing capability, and that's what that kind of initiative would deliver. It's certainly what we're doing here with these kinds of programs, and any manufacturer who wanted to set up a facility like that, well, they could draw upon these same funds.
Just to clear up anything on that blood clotting incident, have you received any advice from the TGA?
Not beyond what's been publicly discussed so far. I understand it's very early days, but it'll be thoroughly investigated. Our TGA is one of the strictest in the world. They'll do a very good job of that.
There's mixed reports as to whether the investigation's looking at whether the guy was vaccinated with AstraZeneca or Pfizer. What have you been advised?
Look, all I know is what's been reported publicly.
Just on the Olympics.
Reports, though, about if it's AstraZeneca or Pfizer. Do you have any confirmation?
I don't know. Sorry.
Just on the Olympics, if the Gabba Stadium's at 50,000 capacity, that would be the smallest opening and closing ceremony venue in 100 years of Olympics. Is 50,000 big enough?
Look, this is the nature of the new kind of Olympic Games. You know, the IRC is talking about a new normal, and the new normal involves using existing stadiums and will inevitably mean smaller stadiums. But that doesn't mean it can't be fantastic. 50,000 seats will fit very much within the standards that the IOC have set, and I think will mean a really intimate venue where everyone can feel very, very close and very part of it. The gradient of the redeveloped Gabba will be similar to that at Lang Park, and I think we've all experienced just how great venues where they're set up that way.
And what happens on Monday? Apparently there's a deadline there on Monday if the Morrison government doesn't come forward with 50% of the funding.
So Monday is a deadline for draft guarantees to the IOC. We need the Morrison government on board at that point in time so that the IOC can assess whether we have the funding available to deliver the venues and transport that'll be required. And so working very closely with them, of course with local government as well. This needs to be all three levels of government working together.
Has there be a common theme in violent domestic violence murders that DVOs have been breached a number of times? What's the government going to do to stop this happening?
I understand the Minister for the Attorney General made some remarks about that this morning. You know, we need to do everything that we can to stop this kind of violence. It's horrific and disturbing.
Does there need to be harsher penalties for people that breach domestic violence orders?
Look, I might be careful what I say, given that there's an incident today and that it's the Attorney General's portfolio, but I don't want you to go there.
In relation to the inquiry into the hate crime laws, do you support making racial or religion motivation a circumstance of aggravation in existing offences?
Look, I expect that that's the kind of thing that will be looked at by this committee, and I'm sure their report will be very useful.
And it was also suggested, I think, in one of the submission papers that the possession, distribution or display of hateful material should be criminalised. Is that something that you support?
Again, that's something that I'll be eager to see what the committee considers.
Do you think we'll ever get to a stage where Queenslanders will be able to test themselves for COVID at home with that at-home testing kit?
Well, certainly we have that technology here in the room and providing it to other parts of the world, but at the moment they're the parts of the world that need it the most. Here in Queensland we can be very clear about where someone is likely to have been exposed to COVID. We have very high testing capabilities with a very high degree of certainty. There's other parts of the world that need those products more right now.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Yes, I was there.
Sorry.